What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing a beer from Brouwerij Westmalle, and they're out of Malle, Belgium, and this is their Trappist Tripel. So this is a Belgian Tripel that comes in at 9.5% alcohol by volume, 40 IBUs at the time of review. This bottle is just under 7 months old, and it also has a best by date of August 30th of 2025. So according to the brewery, we're more than good. A beer like this and a lot of these bigger ABV Belgian beers can be aged. And full disclosure, I've had this one before, both fresh, well, relatively fresh, and quite aged. I think I had a bottle of this, was like 3 or 4 years old, and they were both quite delicious. I actually preferred the aged one. So this is kind of in between. Maybe not, maybe a little bit more towards fresher. But anyway, I'm really excited to give this one a go because I say this in the vast majority of the beer reviews I do on my channel of Belgian beers. I always say, you know, for me, stylistically, I prefer the darker Belgian beers over the lighter Belgian beers. And Tripels are not one of my favorite Belgian styles. It's probably one of my least favorite. However, this beer I have always loved. I have always found this one, I mean, it's an authentic Trappist Tripel, so that probably plays a huge role. And I always dig this one. So to finally review it, I'm really excited about it. So let's get into it. Crack it open, see what we got going on here. Ooh, big hiss. Is it coming? No, it's not. I thought it was going to. It's like all excited. There's smoke coming out of it. I was like, oh my God, here we go. Guess what? Nope. Anyway, I do have the hashtag proper glassware. This is the Trappist glass from Westmalle. And this is the heaviest glass. This is like 3 pounds, 4 pounds. This is like a weapon, not a glass. Anyway, we're gonna pour it. Not gonna pour it all in, leave like, 2 or 3 ounces at the bottom swirled up and get into it later, but we're gonna give it a pour here. Very carbonated, of course. All right, we'll do something like that. And then, yeah, we'll leave, that's a little bit more, maybe like 3 ounces or so. Throw this over here. Do a little cheat, but now we'll throw this over here. Now that, in the hashtag proper glassware, looks lovely. Oh, look at all that sediment. And again, this one was upright. Maybe I jostled a little bit, but whatever. It's upright, it looks fine. But there's a lot of, I don't know if that's gonna come off on camera. Let's see if you guys can see. Like, can you see through the side all the fine particulates? Hold it up to the glass or the light. Yeah, there is a lot of fine particulates. This has this beautiful like yellow golden color. It has about a half finger of a bright white. I would say somewhat creamy looking head. Decent carbonation. I do think this has the etching at the bottom, but again, we're in hashtag proper glassware. So let's get a nose. Yes. Yes, sweet. A little bit of like bubble gum, but it has like sweet, sweet fruitiness to it. Like there's like apple, there's pear, again, that bubblegum kind of yeast ester. Touch of like citrus and stone fruit, like a orange, maybe even like a lemon. Maybe I gotta take back that this is one of my least favorite styles, because when you get an authentic one, straight from Belgium, like this nose is everything I want in this style. It's a little bit of like a peppery kind of like white pepper, black pepper, slight coriander kind of spiciness from the phenols. There's this like weedy kind of graininess that sounds bad, but it's not. I just want to sit here and smell this. It smells sweet, but kind of, you can't really smell sweetness, but there's a perceived sweetness in the nose that's lovely. And again, it's very rich on that bubblegum. This is a beer like, shout out to Dan over at FLX Beer Reviews. He's like, Joe, sometimes it's fun to just sit down and drink a beer and not review it. If you don't know, I pretty much drink 1 beer a day and I review them. So this is my, beer of the day. I almost wish that I'm not reviewing it because I just want to just start drinking this, right? I don't want to sit here and talk about it, but like, that's what reviewing a beer is. And sometimes this, like a beer like this, deserves to be reviewed, deserves to be, to gush over it. Oh, I don't know. There's a spiciness. The yeast is screaming with the esters and the phenols. They're working hand in hand. There's a nice kind of like, again, graininess to it, like almost like a bready, biscuity kind of malt character, but it's more of like a weedy kind of aroma. Anyway, listen, I just want to get into it. We'll talk about the taste more so than the aroma. I just want to get into it. Cheers, everyone. Yep. Yeah. That's really nice. It's there's so much stuff going on in the taste. Like there's a complexity that even after smelling it, like I can't comprehend on the palate. First things first, and this goes for a lot of Belgian beers, but certainly Belgian Tripels, like saisons, things of that nature. If you're somebody who doesn't love a high effervescent kind of mouthfeel, very spritzy and just on the palate, like a ton of carbonation, you're never going to love these beers. I don't personally, I think that's one of the reasons maybe, Matt, why I don't like a lot of lighter Belgian beers, because the carbonation can be harsh at times. But in a situation like this, I think it actually adds a lot to the drinking experience. Anyway, body mouthfeel. Body, this is like higher side of medium, lower side of full. It's perfect for what I want out of this style. I don't think this style is supposed to be super like full bodied and like over the top syrupy and whatnot. It's light on its feet at almost 10%, right, 9.5. But there's still a heft here to it. So again, higher side of medium, lower side of full. I think it's appropriate. The mouthfeel, again, this is high. This is like high, full on carbonation. But there is a smooth, creamy sensation on the back of the palate after you take that first sip. I mentioned this in a review. I don't know how I'm going to review these. I forget the beer, but recently I reviewed a beer where I said the same thing. Where like front of the palate, lots of carbonation, dances on the tongue, very prickly. It might actually be the West Sheriff Wednesday I posted this week, which is going to be a Strange Burner from Strange Bird and Big Ditch, like a blended beer. And again, there's a lot of carbonation at the forefront, dances on the tongue, but then as it passes through the palate and gets to the finish, it smooths out and there's a creaminess. That's what's happening with this one. The taste forefront, again, I would say a honey kind of wheat bread sensation. Maybe even a slight toasted quality too, but not much, just a little bit. That dives underneath the palate, and then I get a citrus punch of like orange and lemon up front. And as it continues through, orchard fruits hit. There's apple. There's a little bit of pear. Maybe even like a touch of, this is going to sound weird, like a kiwi in general. Not that kiwi's an orchard fruit, but I don't know. Kiwi's a tropical fruit. Anyway, it has like, a lot of fruitiness going on. There's also a little bit of like a touch of like a stone fruit too, like more of like say like an apricot. Like a dried apricot. There's this underlying omnipresent bubblegum yeast ester that is there at all. Like again, it's omnipresent, so it's there at all times. Never steps in the way, but it's always with you. So it's almost like you're getting like different flavored bubblegums throughout the palate. Second half of the palate, this is very spicy. It has, again, more of like a white pepper, black pepper, coriander. There's a touch of a clove. Also a hint of like a lemongrass, a touch of like a anise, like a black licorice that, if you don't like black licorice, do not, go to this beer thinking this is like big black licorice. But I'm just saying, I pick up a little bit of like a black licorice. Very small, very minute, but it's there. This is full on dry, bone dry. There's a mild to moderate bitterness smack dab in the middle, but this is more dry than anything. But that dryness really helps balance out all that sweet malty goodness you get at the front. Again, a decent amount of like honey and things of that nature from the malt. And that dryness just really saves everything. On the palate, there's no booze that I'm detecting, but definitely a big warming chest into the stomach. Like I feel it. This is definitely a bigger beer. But again, it's kind of light on its feet as far as the body goes. So, this is deceptive to some degree. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you and tell you, I'm well-versed in fucking all the Belgian Tripels ever made, especially the authentic ones. No, I've had a lot of the authentic imported ones here in the U.S. I've had them many years ago, and a lot of them I didn't revisit because, again, I always say I don't like the style. And then I had this one many years ago, and this was the first one that kind of made sense for me as far as the style goes. And I was like, wow, that's what a Belgian Tripel can be? Okay, like sign me up, right? And every time I have this one, I'm reminded of how good it is for the style for myself personally. Is this going to be everybody's favorite within the style? Probably not. I don't know. Are there better Belgian Tripels? Maybe. Have I had one? No, I have not had one better than this, personally, speaking. But for a beer that gets imported in the US and that I can easily grab off the shelves here locally in the Buffalo, New York area, this is my favorite Belgian Tripel. And I don't see that changing unless, you know, somehow I start just randomly trying a bunch and one sticks out, which maybe I'll try some more Belgian Tripels this year. Again, it's not one of my favorite styles, but this is just this is a great beer. This is such a good beer. Anyway, let me pour in the goodies here. A little bit more than I imagined, but whatever, fuck it. And we'll see what happens with this beer. A lot of times when I do this, just like the spice character from the phenols kind of fucking go nuts. But we'll see. Here we go. That actually made it a little bit sweeter. Yeah, I actually prefer it with the goodies in the bottom. Wow. Just a little bit sweeter, like 5 to 10% more sweet. And again, that's a personal preference. I don't love super dry beers. This is quite dry. So I don't know. This is divine. Listen, if you've never had this beer before, grab it. Even at the price point and whatnot, just grab it. So Westmalle, their Trappist Tripel, go high 4.5, 4.6 out of 5. And that's a personal rating. If I did stylistically, this is the best Belgian Tripel I've ever had. And I've had a decent amount. I would give this probably close to a 5 out of 5. Like, this is the cream of the crop. Shout out to an RIP to Macho Man Randy Savage, but this is the cream of the crop. This is really the best Belgian Tripel I've ever had. And I don't see that changing in the foreseeable future. We'll see. Maybe I'll try some. I'll be surprised, but we'll see. So all day, every day, this is a 4.6 out of 5 personal preference. Like, it's fucking awesome. It's an awesome beer. Anyway, price point availability. It's a bit expensive. It's imported. It is what it is. If I see it on sale, I could usually get it for like less than $6 a bottle. This specific bottle I picked up was $6.99, so it's a bit expensive. I think they come in the 750 cork and cage. I don't know if I've seen them recently, but I think they did at some point. But regardless, this is a what? Is this a 330? 331? 330. So 330 mils, so what's that? 11.2 fluid ounces. It's imported. It's a fucking 4.6. I don't mind paying $7 for a bottle. That means 4-packs are pricey. But here's the thing. You pay for good beer. In this, good beer. So I don't mind it. It's going to be cheaper in your neck of the woods. It's going to be more expensive. Here in Buffalo, New York, it is what it is. In West New York in general. Availability here in the States, if you have a decent bottle shop or even like grocery store that has a good import section, this should be in it. Like, it should be 100%. As an authentic Trappist beer, yes, it should be. If you're outside of the U.S., I don't know, but in the U.S., you should definitely be able to get your hands on it. So here's where I always say, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section, please do so. I would love, I know a lot of you out there watching this review have had this one before. And a lot of you, I know, let me reach out to somebody who's maybe a lurker of the channel who doesn't post and watches a lot of it. Listen, there's been a handful of comments over the past like 6 months where like, I don't really post any comments, but I lurk, I watch all your videos. Here's a comment. If you're one of those folks that very rarely posts any kind of comment, but you watch a lot of my videos, please post in the comment section. Have you had this one before? If so, what do you think about it? And to any of the regulars out there, I would love to hear your opinion on this one. I don't see it getting much better than this for myself personally. But if there is a Belgian Tripel out there that you think rivals or betters this, let me know. I will review it. I take, a lot of suggestions from people, and I have like a notepad on my computer that I just like, keep track of different stuff. And, for like Macro Monday, I have, some beers that people recommended, and any kind of suggestions for people I put in there. And if I can find the beer, I'll review it. I will. So anyway, I appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. This is going to be a longer review. I know that, but a beer like this deserves a longer review because to me, this is, the best in the style for myself personally. And I want to gush about it. I want to talk about it. And, it's just a fucking delicious beer. Anyway, I'm shutting this one down. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers, 9.5%. Yeah, I'm feeling it. But it doesn't matter. Cheers.